Okay, if that's what you need to tell yourself.
To sleep at night,
Praise
yes.
the Lord. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Hey everybody, I'm Nunney. I'm half a double dose, and my other half is.
I'm Paris.
Hey, Paris.
Hey, Paris.
Hey, Nunney.
Hey,
Oh, what time
is
does double
neighborhood
dose?
guy Tall Paul? You already know Noble.
Okay,
All right, Tall Paul in the studio.
That way.
Can y'all let us know what time Double Dose comes on? What time can we catch y'all?
Catch us on Saturdays at 2:30. Double Dose Radio.
Eastern?
Yeah.
All right.
AM
Wait,
or
is it?
PM?
What is it again?
AM, PM.
How
AM.
about it?
No, it's
No, PM. Excuse me.
Okay.
PM.
Yeah, get it straight.
2:30 PM
Okay.
Saturdays.
Amen. Amen.
Yeah,
Let them
absolutely.
use you.
Mm-hmm. And Tall Paul, they can hear you when?
They can hear us Tuesdays at 3 p.m. on Global Change. And then up and coming, we got Kingdom Culture. Be on the lookout for that. And anything else that comes to mind, we will be in effect.
All right. And you can also catch Wigs in the Word every Saturday. Nope. Every Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time.
Nice.
So what's wrong with your face?
Okay.
What?
Straight up.
Okay, so family, for those listeners who cannot see, Paul has a lot of facial tattoos.
A lot of gestures.
Yeah, and so he's just going to explain to us where he was in his life and, you know, where he is now.
Why you had to explain
Sure,
it? He
for
knew
sure.
where I was coming from.
Yeah, I mean.
No. You said what's wrong with your face. For
Right.
people who are listening, they don't know, like, oh my gosh, does he have one eye?
And that's what he was going to explain.
Oh.
Whether or not he had one eye or not. Or a big nose or one tooth. Or whatever. He was going to do all that.
Hold the mic. Hold the mic, brother. Hold the
Don't
mic.
tell me what to hold. Or what I want to hold.
Go ahead, Tall Paul.
So yeah, Tall Paul, that's me. You know, coming out of Queen City, Charlotte, Hidden Valley, Northeast area. You know, since 1990. So
put
everybody knows us from the Hidden Valley area. But
You were born in 1990?
I'm 80s baby, but Hidden Valley bred since 1990. But Beatty's Ford had a little hold on me for about 2 years in the neighborhood, the West Charlotte culture. You know, that culture.
Okay.
We know that's a racer of his own.
Is that what we
Shout out to the West Side.
What's that?
Culture.
Oh yeah, it's
okay.
culture. It's culture. It's culture flow. It's mind flow. It's a little bit of everything. It's the internal pour out is what we're seeing, and it's coming out into the external these days, and we just living in it, and we gotta adjust, make the moves, and be about that. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
We thank God.
Are things getting better or getting worse in those areas?
I would say overall they're getting better. It's more of an interpersonal concept kind of going on that I'm witnessing. Persons are not as centered to be in their individuality to the extent of they're allowing to build with one another. And since we're building with one another, these self concepts, we're kind of finding out who we are through others. And that's always good. It's always good to mesh and be in agreement. Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. Unity is excellent.
So why the tattoos?
Oh, well, gang related and things like that in the past, just the.
She was in a gang.
I was. I joined
throw
it.
that out there. we
Right.
in the Jesus.
I'm out that thug life in the spirit now. Hallelujah.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
So just in the neighborhood. It was gang back then, so now it's just like I go back, feed the children, feed the youth, pour into them, because that's our next generation. That's our up and coming.
Yeah.
And the up and coming, and it's supposed to get better and better. Every generation is supposed to get better.
Of course.
Supposed to, but it's not.
Not in every neighborhood.
It's a falsified uniqueness right now. Falsified uniqueness in a sense of.
Listen, this brother got it together.
That's one way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Because we think that we are something, and then we're putting on the makeup, we're putting on the costume, and then we get behind closed doors, we're crying, we in trauma, we in this chaotic mindset. So it's like. And I was bred to falsify uniqueness growing up to a certain degree, because I was in that mindset that was captive to, hey man, this is culture, this is the mind flow of the neighborhood, so this is all I know, living for the city, living for the neighborhood.
But doesn't that like tie into the whole fake it till you make it type thing? And does that lead a person down a path of non-truth? so that when they come into the truth, they have lived a lie their entire life?
Wow.
I can definitely agree, and I can see that. I agree on that, and it's just kind of the concept of avoidance learning. We have to once you do something so long subconsciously, basically you avoid the reality and you learn how to avoid it through the tendencies of just learned behavior. So I can learn how to not be a grade A student. I can learn how to not be a scholar because I played ball. You know, I played ball North Meg Vikings 06 at North. That's they. You know.
Okay.
But yeah, I played ball. You know, from fifth on up. But it's just one of the things that we come into an understanding of. We have to really know who we are, and if we're captive to this avoidance learning, then we're never going to avoid what we want to pour into ourselves for. We're going to learn to avoid what is the culture that we need to really be brushing off our shoulders.
And what culture is that?
Well, right now, it's if it's not edification, if it's not uplift, we say live life. You know, that's kind of 100 life. You know, 100 life, live life. 100 life is true to self, but 100 life is true to it's true to the growth. It's true to it's sprouting up. It's steady sprouting up out of the ground. You know how Tupac Shakur used to always say that rose out of the ground. You know, we got to be like that no matter what.
But 100 life gonna get you shot. That's the problem.
It's how you
because
go about
we're
living it, though.
losing too many of our good people to a life of mediocrity because they trying to keep it 100. It's like, but you have to understand how to flow in various situations and circumstances so that you don't get a cap popped in your butt.
Definitely.
And people don't understand that. Okay. So the way I act at home is going to be different than the way I act in the boardroom, which is going to be different than the way I act in church, which is going to be different. So depending upon the environment that I'm in, I should have enough sense to act differently in those settings. But then some people will say, well, that ain't, keeping it real, and you sort of faking the funk type thing, but you don't approach the president of the United States the same way you approach your homie on the block.
Right. Very true.
It's two different approaches that you make there. And it doesn't mean that you're a sellout, and it doesn't mean that you're compromising. It just means that you are acclimating to that environment so that you can get out of it what it is that you need to in order to better your community.
I love that. And when I think about it, sometimes I think about our 100 is that, man, realer than real, realest in the city. That's the 100 that we get. Right. But it's possible. Biblical studies say that, sevenfold is completion, but 100-fold is a complete turnaround to, it's a complete turnaround to everything restored and completion. So not
only restoration, but it's restitution, 100-fold.
Yes, okay. That's internal. That's the spiritual. That's the physical. So it's so bizarre that if we take our 100 life, but pair it to the 100-fold, we can be maneuvering out here on a hey, what's new? What's Paris? What they got going on? What's the mindset? So I kind of channel it. I try to channel it not too secular. But I know what my base is at in the faith.
Yeah, that's true. Because I also agree with that because everybody's road to Christ is not on the road to Damascus. You know what I mean? Everybody is not blinded by a light, knocked off a beast. Some people are going to come to Christ different ways. And so what you offer somebody is more relatable to say, man, like if he has turned his life around, I don't have to live my life like this. So that's like really dope. So even with that, when you say unity, of course, in our culture, we are not as unified as we used to be. When in the era of Panthers. Why do y'all think that, Paris? Why do you feel like African Americans, we are not unified? We don't. So like, say for instance, we will go to a Chinese shop to get our nails done before we would go to an African American shop. Why is it that you would go, somewhere else and eat somewhere else, or go out of our community to get something instead of spending the money with our people?
It's been learned.
Yeah, I say one thing, like, I feel like a lot of people think it's a competition instead of helping and embracing each other. They was like, I got to be the best person at this. Like they make it a competition thing when really and truly, if everybody just works together and, use what this person's got, what that person's got, we can all come together and win. It shouldn't be, who's better than the next, and we can all win and eat.
Wow. One thing that I actually recently learned, I think the Jews are like 101% of like the wealthiest, like, I guess, what is it called? What I'm trying to say, ethnicity right now, like the wealthiest. But the reason why they are, because they're only like 7% of the community. They re-spend their dollar seven times within their community before it ever leaves their community.
And they don't even get one time within our own community.
Yeah.
Because we have a consumeristic mindset than an ownership mindset. So as a consumer, we're buying everybody else's stuff, but we're not manufacturing and we're not creating our own stuff so that people can buy from us.
Do y'all think, Nunney, do you think that African Americans have a label though for being unprofessional and you feel like you don't want to fool with them? Like, if you being honest?
Okay, so going back to what I said, I feel like it's been learned. So when you watch TV, what do you see us doing?
Acting a fool.
Acting a fool, yeah.
Ride sixes.
Ain't nothing legit.
True.
Only way for that
It's
to
a
work, he ain't gonna steal that car. He gotta have you gotta crank it a certain type of way or something, or the microwave don't work unless you do this.
Speak that.
Or you know what I'm saying? Like, it's been learned. Well, ain't nothing that we got legit.
Yeah.
So in order for us to be accepted by the quote unquote higher up, we want to be better than the next man, but the next man is your man. So
Right, it is your brother.
And then it's also a matter of seasoning and tenure. They've been in business and manufacturing for eons, decades and centuries. A lot of us have just gotten into our own because as we acclimated into the job world, it really was a job. So we were the ones who were working for somebody else, taking care of their children, raising their children, picking their this and their that. So we had a mindset of an employee and of working for somebody else. Just recently, we've gotten into mindset of, you know what? I can own something.
Yeah. Be your own boss.
I can, we drove the bus because we ain't had no money to buy a car.
Trying to drive the bus.
Type of thing. Yeah. So because of that, we can only use what we had at the time. But now this whole entrepreneurship and this paradigm shift of our mind now is focusing us into having our own. But because of that, it's new to us. Therefore, we make mistakes. Therefore, we mess up. Therefore, our customer service may not be where it needs to be because this is new to us
It's a learning
versus our
experience.
counterparts that have been doing this for 100 years. So, yeah, you got the customer service thing down, but we just started business last year. So all of the logistics we're still working out. So it does require a certain level of patience and working with us than working with our counterparts. But that doesn't mean to rule us out. That doesn't mean to not do business with us. You may not want to do business with me, but that doesn't mean not do business with you just because we look the same.
That's good.
That's so good. And I thought about the social comparison. It's just the status quo. Across the board, certain ethnicities based off the culture, they're more close knit, and then beyond the being the close knit, it's like, we all seek agreement in a different way. So in the social comparison aspect, certain groups are going to conduct themselves accordingly, and if you are if you have an adaptation to one set mind, what do you expect?
Yeah, same results.
And then obviously the whole Willie Lynch letters and putting us against each other and house slaves and field slaves and light skin, dark skin. I'm not supposed to like you. You ain't supposed to like me and whatever else. You're the darkest one in here, so we're not supposed to like you. Type thing, and you look ethnic because of the dreads and stuff like that, that kind of thing. Therefore, we not supposed to get together. We not supposed to support each other. You're supposed to do you. I'm supposed to do me. And there's this internal battle going on within our culture where, in reality, we all should be working together because when one ship in the harbor goes up, all the ships in the harbor go up. But in our culture, we want to be so defective in that regard that none of us now can become successful because you can't do it by yourself. It takes teamwork. It takes a family. It takes a crew. But we don't have that mentality, so we try to be the dishwasher, the cashier, the cook, the bottle wash, all in the same time, and it just doesn't work that way. So until we get out of our own skin and until we start trusting one another, which is really the root cause of it. We don't trust each other. And to be able to trust you, I need to have a relationship with you. So we need to have a relationship which then builds trust, which now allows us to work together and support one another.
That's so good. That's so good.
Yeah, that's dope.
You'd be surprised. Like they say like when you think about group synergy, we think about the dynamics of groups. So like this group right here, we're building. Build for it tough. We're on a one-track mind. We're on a mindset. We're on the up and coming. And that's the mindset of this group. But in certain groups, like when I was, in the gang, like, when I thought about that, I said, well, what it was a crowd. It was kind of like once again, it was a touchy subject because it was a family feel, but the dynamics was so kind of torn to where I really couldn't maneuver through the spectrums of life. So when I think about that, group synergy says if I'm in a room of builders, then it's about to be the Great Wall of France about to be built up in here. But if I'm in a room full of people that's like I said, we in it on our own, we got our own backpacks, we hiking for our own individual terms, then of course I'm gonna branch off and I'm gonna be a byproduct of that. Which I was exposed to, so, they always say that birds of a feather. That birds of a feather is so true. So watch them birds you flocking with.
All right.
That's truth.
Okay. All
You
right.
are a product of your environment.
So
and a
true.
lot of times
Sometimes.
it's so difficult. Most people are. It's difficult to break away from that environment, from that culture, because everybody wants to be accepted.
It's a
So
mind
in
thing. You
order
gotta
for
be
me
stronger
to
than
be
your mind.
accepted, guess what? I got to play the part. I got to be down. I got to be the road dog. I got to be.
Yeah.
And it's very challenging for a person to be that leader, to break away, and to be able to set a path for their own. Most people are followers. Very few people are leaders. That's why the majority of people work for somebody else versus having their own, because that mindset caters to being the thermostat versus being the thermometer versus being the thermostat. So most people, when they walk into the room, they're not changing the environment of the room. They're acclimating and adapting to whatever that culture is, to whatever that room is, versus that individual who is that leader. Where they walk in the room, guess what? People start putting out the cigarette butts. People start changing their language and stop cursing. Because when I walk into a room, you can't be blowing smoke in my face. You can't be cursing around me because of the anointing that I bring into the room when I enter the place. So there should be a certain amount of respect that comes along with that if I'm going to be that thermostat to be able to set that temperature in the room when I walk in.
Right.
And that's how we all need to be, that type of mindset.
That's so good.
Family, we're going to take a break and come back. You are tuned in to the Profit and Growth Hour here on WDRB Media. The voice of the community. Can you turn up his microphone? Okay. Is it up all the way to a 10 or?
No, but it's.
All right. Because if you have to